Hello and welcome to another Cloud City FFTCG match featuring Julian playing Mono Earth on the left side and Alex playing Mono Ice on the right. This is round 3 of the Magic Stronghold weekly tournament on May 10th. And both of these players are currently undefeated in the third round, and we'll see who comes out on top. Now Alex will be going first, and keep in mind that Julian actually teched incredibly heavily against Ice because Ice is a very popular color at our local meta and just in the global meta in general. It's a very powerful color right now. But Earth does have a lot of answers, and we see Alex discarding an Orphan to open with a 2 CP Scholar. Again, a very standard and efficient opening for Mono Ice. We'll see how Julian responds here. He discards a Gipball, which is not a great early game card, for a Monk and passes turn, likely setting up for a turn 2 3 CP backup, such as an Across or Momodi or even Graviton. And we see Alex going for an Edward, turn 2. Discarding a card out of Julian's hand. In my experience, trading resources like this is slightly in the Ice player's advantage because they have less high cost stuff to pay for, and there's a lot more advantage, or rather raw advantage, from searching in the Ice engine. So I think it's certainly better to play an Edward rather than a Sid at this stage of the game. Let's see how Julian retaliates during his turn. He draws 2. Looks like he's discarding 2, either for Yang Ursula or a Minor combo. Okay, so he plays a Minor, gets back the Minor, immediately discards the Minor for a what looks like a Momodi. So he's up to 3 backups, which is the ideal number of backups for turn 2. There's a lot of good 5 cost and 3 cost in Earth that he wants to play. Or if he wants to play a 4 CP forward, he will leave 1 CP open for a Cockatrice to protect his forward. Looks like we are going for a Devout setup further from Alex, and discards another one for another, wow, going up to 4 backups turn 3. This is actually a very efficient opening from Alex here. Against most decks, this is actually a very good opening because next turn he can go for a very efficient sit into Setzer play. But I am a little bit concerned playing this slow against Earth because, as we are about to see, I think I see a 5 CP Yang in Julian's hand, and here it comes. Now, 5 CP Yang is a very big problem for Mono Ice because there's not a ton of answer since Yang cannot be doled by your opponent's abilities. That includes everything, like Shiva, Genesis, and yes, it does include a Vayne. It's not just targeted dull, and I think at this point Alex realized he made a mistake. He thought that Yang just can't be dulled by any targeted abilities, and the blanket ability from Vayne is still not going to affect Yang. So Vayne is not going to be effective here, and he burned his Devout. So Alex is in a bit of trouble here because I don't know if he has a follow-up play for the 3 open CP. No, he does not, it looks like. So if he passes turn here and doesn't get to use his 3 CP, he's going to fall really behind because not only did he lose out on his Devout, he played a forward that won't really be doing anything, and he doesn't use his CP efficiently. So Alex is actually super behind now. Not super behind, but quite a bit behind. We'll see how Julian capitalizes here. If he plays another backup, Yang will then gain Brave, and he does. Plays, I think that's a WRO member. No Anacross yet, which is good news for Alex, but Yang is still incredibly big, sitting at a comfortable 10k against Ice. And he has Brave now, so he's never going to get dulled by his opponent, and he's never going to be dulled by Julian himself, unless he plays a Titan. So that's the only time that Yang is probably going to be dulled in this matchup. And we see Alex really struggling to come up with a way to deal with Yang. He didn't put enough early pressure. He discards one to play the Duke Larg, putting Vayne now at 9k, so just a 1k below Yang. So no, still not quite enough, not to mention that the Monk is actually open. And we see him discard to play the Setzer, most likely going for the Sid search. There is answers in Ice against Yang because there is some form of damage, but unfortunately most Ice damage, such as Glacia, requires the forward to be dulled. So we'll see how Alex answers this Yang here. Oh my god, and Julian goes up to 5 backups, and that is the crucial Graviton. Oh, we get a Jill here. Now, Yang, even though he can't be dulled, he's actually still going to get the frozen status here. So if for whatever reason Yang gets dulled right now during Alex's turn, he will actually stay frozen. Because freeze and dull are two completely different statuses. You don't have to use dull first. If a forward gets frozen and then he gets dulled afterwards, he will still stay frozen the next turn. So we'll see how this turn plays out. Unlikely that Yang is going to be dulled. And we see Alex go for a 4-cost play Aloidai, which is an ice monster that discards on hit and requires 1 ice to activate. He's sitting at 8,000 power, 9,000 with Duke Lard, so very big body. Yang can get over him, but as of this moment, the only force on board is Yang. So you see Alex contemplating the party attack, which the other option Alex has is to attack with only 1 forward and fake a Mateus. By party attacking, he's actually telling Julian, if Julian is a good player, that he doesn't have Mateus in his hand, and that's really important information for Julian to know. Now we do see another copy of Yang in his hand, so even if he dies here, he has another one, and he decides to go for the Cockatrice so that Yang doesn't take any damage from this combat. Oh, but looks like Alex has the Silent Burst from Edward, the Edward special, canceling the Cockatrice. So Yang, as of right now, Yang will die from combat unless Julian decides to place something else on the stack. He's thinking about it. Yang is currently at 12,000 power because of Graviton. If he plays a Golem right now, he will actually get 6,000 power in total, putting up to 18. Which is outside of the 17 total from Vayne Ancestor. And he plays a Titan and dulls his own Yang. Oh, this is actually a really good chance for Alex to fight back, because remember from earlier, Jill Nabat froze Yang. So Yang will not activate during Julian's active phase. And intelligently, Julian goes for the Vayne, like puts the combat damage on the Vayne to kill him, because now that Yang is dulled, Vayne's effect will apply and he will never activate. So that was definitely the right person to kill here. With only 1 card in both players' hands, there is a chance that Alex can swarm the board with a ton of forwards and really capitalize on the time that Yang is frozen. But unfortunately for Alex, there is a misplay here and neither player remembered that Yang was frozen. I think because that last turn took so long and so many exchanges happened, both players forgot about the Jill Nabat. So that's really unfortunate for Alex, because that was his chance to come back. And we see Julian drop a WRO member forward, who now has Brave because there is that WRO backup. Well, specifically, you need 2 WRO members. Doesn't have to be the backup, but the backup is the safest way. And he taps 2 for another WRO member to go a little bit wide. Finally have some other forwards to attack with, and really pressing the clock here. What can Alex do? Now keep in mind that Aloidai is still a very big forward. He's currently sitting at 9k. So he is capable of blocking the WRO members. The lack of Enacross is giving Alex some breathing room because his forwards are bigger and can block anyone except for Yang. So it's difficult for Julian to push past that without using his Monk or some sort of summon to get the 2000 pump from Graviton. Looks like Alex is searching for a Light Terra to go to his hand. We know that Alex runs Moomba in his deck, which is a relatively more reliable answer to Yang outside of Mateus. He could potentially block Yang during Julian's attack and play a Moomba to finish off the Yang. But it's a very inefficient way to trade with the Yang, since you will be losing a forward and play a 2 CP summon. Not ideal, but there's really not a lot of ways for Ice to deal with the 5 CP Yang. Another way is to just pressure really early, play more forwards than the Yang can handle, and just continuously swing in. Party attack is not the ideal way, because if the opponent plays a Hecaton Kyre on a different forward during the party attack, it's potentially a 1-for-2 trade, or even a 0-for-2 trade. So we see Alex thinking here, does he want to drop something right now with his 1 open CP? He could drop a lock to put another AK forward on board and discard the last card in Julian's hand. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, that last card in his hand is the Yang, because I haven't seen him discard it yet. So that could be very useful. It'll force Julian to use the Miner to retrieve the Yang if he ever dies. And it does look like Alex is going to go for it. There's no sense in wasting that CP since he's never going to use it, or he could leave it up to activate a low die to block. Very tense situation because Yang is just such a problem for ice players. Okay, so he does go for the lock, strips out the 5 CP Yang from Julian's hand. Now Julian's had no hand, but he has a very, very established board. Now we see Julian draw a 2, but doesn't immediately go into attack phase. He is asking if lock is at 8k, which he is, and the WRO members are currently sitting at 7k. So he swings in with the Yang, not gonna block that. Damage zone Celeste, which is not terribly useful right now. He swings. He looks like he wants to swing in with WRO member. He can activate the monk to kill anyone who blocks, but I'm not sure if that's the best idea right now. Staying at 5 CP is actually quite nice because, okay, so he plays Hecaton Kyre on the WR member, that's stack 1, and Graviton triggers at stack 2. Graviton will resolve first, giving WRO member 2000 power, which puts him at 9 and kills the lock for free. Well, kind of for free because he did take 8000 damage. So now he swings in with that damaged 9k WRO. Sets her blocks, kills, and trades with WRO and dulls and frees the other one. I think that was the right play to save yourself from further damage. If he did take another damage, he would be at a very uncomfortable 5 damage against Yang. Every turn, he's basically guaranteed to take a damage from Yang unless he has a Moonba combo to finish him off. So let's see what he does here. He's at 5 CP with a Light Terra in hand that he searched for. He could play that Light Terra and search for a Moonba, or he could search for a Mateus. But the problem with both of those summons is that it becomes very telegraphed, and Julian, knowing that he has a Moonba, can easily play around it. Moonba is a little bit harder to play around because if he attacks with Yang, Alex can always go for the block and then play Moonba to kill off the Yang. So I think Alex will go for a Moonba here. If he searches for a Mateus, he would just Julian would just never block with Yang. Not to mention he's at 0 damage. He doesn't have to block at all. Even if he threatens with a discard, he doesn't have to block. So he does search for the Moonba. He has the option to activate a Loadai and try to press 1 damage. Very unlikely Julian's gonna block with Yang, so it's actually not gonna be a horrible play. Since if he does block with Yang and Alex plays Moonba to kill off the Yang, it's one big problem gone, and the WRO will still be frozen next turn. But one big problem for Alex is that there is still 1 miner on the board, which means if he does kill the Yang, sacrificing his monster, the Yang will come right back. Okay, he doesn't decide to go for it. And he has 1 CP open. Looks like Julian drew into another forward. He enters combat first. Attacks with the Yang. And nothing happens because a Lodi cannot be broken by the Psycom Enforcer since he's too high cost. The reason why he attacked with the Yang first instead of playing the Psycom right away is because if Alex decides to block with Terra and use a Moonba to kill off the Yang, he has the option to play a Miner and drop the Yang immediately back down. So he goes ahead and uses a Terra special. deals 6,000 damage to the Yang, searches out another summon, and then he can finish off the Yang with the Moomba. Now the Yang will be dead. He will be minored back for sure next turn. But the problem for Alex right now is that he's at 5 damage, which means if he doesn't drop a forward, he's gonna lose. he doesn't need Julian doesn't need to play the Yang again since he has 2 forwards that he can attack with next turn. So he goes in and Moombas the Yang. He has 1 CP open, and Alodai being at 9,000 is capable of blocking. So if he just passes turn right now without attacking with the Alodai, he actually should be okay. That is if Julian doesn't draw into something like a Hexdong High or any summon for that matter to pump his attacker by 2,000 and force a trade with Alodai. So I think Alex is in an okay spot. He did search for another Moomba, which means when the Yang does come back out with the Miner, he does have another Moomba to deal with him. And so long as Julian doesn't draw into his 3rd copy of Yang or another copy of Miner, he is basically done with dealing with Yang. But he activates the Alodai and goes in for a swing. Now, very likely that Julian's not going to block this because it doesn't matter if he loses a card in his hand. He has 2 forwards to swing in. And with only 4 cards in Alex's hand, even if he does have a Shiva, he's going to be ditching 1 for Shiva and having only 2 cards left in his hand to deal with Yang the next turn. So, I don't know if I agree with that play. I think it would have been wiser for Alex to try and stabilize by using Alodai as a blocker, forcing a summon out of Julian's hand or forcing him to Monk. Now he's in a really bad spot. Julian is not even going to Miner just yet because he has lethal on board right now. So he wants to see what Alex's answer is, and he is forced to play the Glacia. Let's see what he chooses to do here. I don't know if he's going to have another turn, so it might be wiser to just dull one of the forwards and discard a card out of Julian's hand so it's more difficult for him to play Yang. And it looks like Psycom was the one attacking, and he has Brave from Momodi. Let's see. Okay, he does go for the dull and discard. And Psycom attacks. He takes the 6th damage. And 99% chance Julian is going to Miner the Yang and then discard his whole hand to play the Yang back out. It's looking very grim for Alex on the right here. I don't think he has any answers left. Now, if Julian pitches his entire hand and Alex top decks into a Terra Special, there is a slight chance that he can still defend. Julian will be forced to swing with Yang first next turn because Alodai will be active and he is stronger than the other forwards. So if Julian swings in with Yang, he declares a block with Terra and then Terra specials the Yang, that would be enough to finish him off. And help Alex hold on for 1 more turn. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. I think it's a little too late. I think attacking with that Alodai and taking that 6 damage from Psycom is what's causing him to be in this very difficult situation right now. He just simply does not have enough cards. And that will be game. Alex concedes. To his credit, 5 CB Yang is very difficult to handle, and he did successfully kill 1. Well played from both players. Turns out 5 CB Yang is just too